welcome back to my channel today. I have another fun layout to create with you all. You may remember my last video was the launch of my March sketchbook. So today I'm actually going to be creating one of the sketches from my March sketchbook, and it is sketch number 2. Now I keep my sketches once I print them out in a binder, so I'm just going to pull this out. Now, when I talk about my sketchbooks, I always say to you that they are not designed exclusively for one particular collection. Even though in my March sketchbook, you can see here I've used the National Scrapbook Day products. So my thought today for my video was to share with you just how versatile these sketches are and how you can adapt them to any collection that you like, to show you that, you know, you don't have to copy my sample pages exactly. You can use any collection. So on my desk, I've actually got the brand new On the Farm collection from Creative Memories. And it is just the most adorable collection. You can see here from the sticker sheet, it has a lovely country vibe, a farm vibe. We also had some of the layered border strips, which I love. Now, I've got the papers here in front of me. These actually sold out super fast, and as did the embellishment pack. Unfortunately, it makes me a little sad. They're not coming back to the Creative Memories website. But if you still would love to work with these stickers and the layered border embellishments, these are still available. I think the wide open places paper pack would work perfectly with this collection, and that is still available on the Creative Memories website. So I will link that below this video. But today is all about sharing just how you can adapt that sketch to work with any collection that you like. So I don't give step-by-step instructions for my sketches, but you can see that all of the measurements are there for you. Now, one of the main features of sketch number 2 was this laser cut frame, the circular frame. And you can see there from my sample page, I made that into a really pretty flower. So naturally, the On the Farm collection doesn't have the circular laser cut frame. So I'm just going to share with you how I'm going to adapt that to work for my layout. So to get started, you're going to need some of your designer papers, and I'm also going to bring in a sheet of white cardstock. You don't have to use white cardstock, you just need a scrap piece of paper. Because as you can see by the color variation in these strips, that tells us that that's 3 different papers. So I'm just going to share with you how you can layer that over a piece of white cardstock. And it also helps you limit your waste of your designer paper by using this method. So the measurements we've been given for these strips are 10.25 inches by 4 inches. So I'll bring in my 12-inch trimmer. And I'm actually going to use both sides of this check paper because I really love the gingham as well as that check. So we can trim 2 strips of this to be 4 inches wide. Just cutting straight through. Making sure that's nice and straight, like so. And then we need to cut this length down to 10.25 inches long. And I'm going to layer mine together. So 10.25. And we'll just trim that little extra strip off. Don't throw these away because these are great for making tags or adding to cards. So there's never any waste. So that's got 2 of our papers, and I'm also going to use this fun chicken wire print. So just the same thing, and I want to make sure that I've got the pattern going the way I want it to run on my layout. And again, I'm just going to cut that to 4 inches wide and then trim the length down to 10.25 inches. So I'll just get our scraps out of the way. So I'm going to bring back in my white cardstock, and I'm just going to line that up on my cutting mat. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take 2 of the adhesive dots, and I'm just going to remove a little bit of the adhesive just on my t-shirt and my finger. And I'm actually just going to stick one to my cutting mat on opposite corners. And what this is going to enable me to do, because I'm removing some of that sticky, it's not going to do any damage to my cardstock. It'll be easy to remove, but it's just enough to hold my white cardstock in place on the cutting mat, so it's not going to move around, because I do want to make sure that I get all of my pieces adhered nice and neat. Okay, so following my sketch, as I said, we're rotating it this way. We just need to align our 3 panelled strips across the top. So I think I'm going to have my chicken wire here to the left, and then I might add the gingham to the center and our check on the end. And when you're happy with the position of all your prints, then you can just come in and adhere those into place. My paper Sweetpea followers will know that I always go for my repositional tape when working for methods such as this, purely because if I make a little error, the repositional tape is very forgiving and it will allow me to lift these strips off quite easily. And the magic about repositional tape is that once it is in place, over time, it becomes more permanent. So it just gives you a little bit of that grace period that if you need to move something, you can. I change my mind all the time. You all know that. So it's our final piece, like so. And by trimming each individual strip and just adding it to some scrap paper, it's just conserving our designer paper. We're only working with what we really need to work with. Now, I know it's early on in the layout to talk about photos, but I've actually got all of my photos here. And there's some fun snaps taken here rurally in a wheat field. So I couldn't resist looking at these layered borders, and there's a really cute wheat border there. So that's the one I want to use for my layout. I'm just going to peel that out of the way. I'll see if I can bring that up to the camera. You can see there how it's got lovely dimension. It's all been layered together and built up. So I love these. I can move these out of the way, and these are still available, as I said. But I was thinking I'd like to work where I've got this thinner strip border here in behind my flower. I thought I would like to use my little wheat field here instead. However, I still want to add a strip of paper here to this bottom edge. And you can see that the complete width of this strip is 1.75 inches. So I do have that measurement there. I'm going to bring in this beautiful green, and that's what I will trim down. So we need that to be 1.75 inches wide. So this is really simple. So I'll just trim that strip. Get my little photos out of the way for now. We'll talk more about photos in a moment. So this bottom strip here will be layered to the bottom, and then we can add our wheat field over the top. And I mean, it's only just the tiniest amount that you will see behind that of the green, but it does fill that in nicely. So I can go ahead and stick this down. Now, even though this is a single page sketch that I'm working on, In my sketchbook, I do give a second layout that you can create to turn this into a 2-page design, and that's also featured in the sketchbook. So we're just working on the 1 page today though. So now that that green strip's in place, we might go ahead and stick our wheat field down as well. I'm just going to add that to the very base of my page. Now on the sticker sheet, there's some really fun little fence stickers, and I think I'd like to layer one of those over the top. So I'm just going to peel that away very carefully. Okay, so we can layer that just to the base of that wheat field, and you can see just that little extra element that that will add to the base of the page. Right, so that's pretty well prepared as much as we can for the moment. That was super fast. And we can peel that away. And because we removed a little bit of that adhesive on those adhesive dots, you can see how they just peel away. These were part of a recent adhesive buffet special with Creative Memories, and I did buy quite a few boxes because I find them very handy. So hopefully they will come back again to be available because I love them. Okay, so we can sit this to the side. Okay, so it's time to work on our little flower here with our photo in the center. And if we reference the measurements on the sketch, I've written smallest circle template, red blade, outside track, and that was the measurement I gave to cut the photo that would fit perfectly within the laser cut frame from the National Scrapbook Day collection. However, we're going to create our own little frame, and I've selected a photo. You can sort of see it was taken kind of from a distance, and that way we're going to be able to cut away all of this negative space that we've got around the subject matter. This is where I like to bring in my clear guide. Now these guides come, the sizing template, come with your templates when you purchase the template, but it has all of the measurements for the different size blades. So just looking here, if I use my red blade on the outside track of my smallest circle, you'll see that I'm going to still keep some of the wheat field in behind this little cutie, but I'm cutting away some of that negative space, and it's just enough to create that perfect size circle. So then I can come in and I can back the photo and I can drop my blade sizes. Perhaps I'll go to the blue to create a nice even frame around it. So these sizing templates are really handy for being able to work and, you know, line up where you want that photo to be, and then you can just slide that out of the way and come in with your blade and cut. So I've pretty well lined that up where I would like it to be, and I'm going to come in with my red blade on the outside track. So just make sure you get both those little nodules into the track, and then we can cut around our photo. Just take your time. And as you can see, that's just cut that perfect circle that we need for this floral element. Now you can sort of see from your template here how much space the different size blades are going to give you around the outside of your photo. So I could go blue if I wanted a wider distance, but I think I'll go with the green blade actually. And because you may have noticed, I've already matted my photos, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I've used the Hot Fudge cardstock. So I'm going to use the same cardstock to back this photo as well. So I'll just bring in my cardstock, get a fresh sheet. Okay, so if we've cut this with the red blade, I'm going to cut this one with the green. I'll just close that blade so I don't cut myself. I'll bring that in and it'll just give us that nice little even border around our photo. Same thing, I'm just going to line that up and cut all the way around. And that's given us now a mat for our circular photo. You can see it's just that little bit wider. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this image into place. And you want to get it centered so that you've got an even space all the way around, like so. Okay, so now it got me thinking of how we can recreate a frame similar to what I've used to the laser cut frame from the National Scrapbook Day products. And I went through my supplies and I've pulled out my Creative Memories circular punch, and I've also pulled out my Sunshine Arches Border Maker cartridge. So basically these are fairly similar in size. The Sunshine Arches BMC is a little bit wider than the circle, but I thought we could punch some of these and layer around the outside of this circular frame for our photo. Now I want 2 separate papers for each punch, so I'm going to go with this deeper red paper that's got the cute little chickens printed on it, and I'm just going to punch several of these circles. Now remember, we'll be cutting these in half, so you're really not going to need too many, but just enough to go around the outside of our photo. So maybe we start with 4, and if we need more we can come back and cut more. Just lock that back into place. And I'm just bringing in my scissors, so there we go. We just want to cut through the center. It doesn't have to be totally perfect. And we're just going to be able to add these in and around our photo. And I think by having 2 layers of 2 different punches, it'll just add a nice little interest to our page. So it looks like 4 is going to be plenty. So you can see it hasn't used a lot of my paper. You may need to just overlap them a little bit, and that's okay. Just maneuver it around on the cutting mat till you're happy with that effect, like so. Okay, so I'm going to have 1 layer of the half circles. So now what I want to do is have a contrasting colour and use the Sunshine Arches. So I'll just slide that away just a little bit. And of course you can't use the Border Maker cartridges without the Border Maker system. So we've got our paper bracket here, as well as the BMC holder. So that just slides in and clicks, which will make us be able to use that as a punch. Now I'm going to bring in a pop of colour and use this yellow. So that just goes into the bracket like so. And we can fold that back bracket out of the way. And then it's just a matter of sliding that cartridge into the nodules on the side of the paper bracket there and punching. Now, as you can see, it's not removing a strip from the paper, so we're going to have to go in and cut away these little arches, which is fine. What I need to do is then bring back in my 12-inch trimmer and cut that strip away. And I'm not even really going to measure this, I'm just going to eyeball it. You just want enough that you'll be able to come in with your scissors, and it gives you a little edge to be able to stick to the back of those other circles. It's a really fun effect, that cartridge. Okay, so a little bit more handiwork before we can get these into place. I just need to come in with my scissors again, and we just need to separate each arc. So just carefully snip away in between each to release those, like so. Very simple. And then where our circles sort of overlap, this is where I think I would like to stick our little punches in between. So like so. We may need to punch a few more and that will be okay. But just as long as we have them fairly even and in between each. Start adding these in place, and again, I'm just going to be working with repositionable tape. And if I need to, I can pull them away and I can reposition them if I need to. I'm just going to overlap these circles a little. And if you can see any of the repositionable tape as you're sticking these down, then just by using your finger, as I did a moment ago, we'll rub that away. So, okay, so I've got all of those stuck down in place. Not sure what I did, but I ended up cutting another circular punch. That's okay. We can make it work. So now I'm just going to go in and again with just a little bit of repo tape, I'm just going to center these little sunshine arches in between each of the red half circles. Okay, so that has adapted our cute little flower here. We've created our own unique little frame to support our photo. So now we can have a little look at getting everything into place. So we can have our flower here. Okay, so now we can talk these other photos that I have on my design here. Now I've given a photo mat size as well as a photo size that you can trim for that mat. If you don't want to mat your photos, you don't have to. You would just trim your photos to the same size as the photo mat. But I've matted all of my photos and I've worked with the measurements from my sketch. So I had a 6x4 photo mat, a 4x4 photo mat and a 5x3.5 photo mat. And then you can see I've got the photos just slightly smaller to be able to work with them and have just a nice even frame. So if we sort of, even though we've rotated our page this way, we can still have the placement exactly the same here. Now I think my floral frame is slightly larger than the National Scrapbook Day frame, but that's okay. We can still work that into our layout. So I'm going to have the larger photo here, then we had 4x4 photo mat overlapping a little, and then the smaller one to the base here, like so. And I'm pretty well happy with how that layout is, where they're positioned. I've worked it pretty much the same as my sketch. You can see here that I've made just a little stalk and some leaves for my flower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back in my green designer paper and just cut a stalk. Clear some room here. And I don't want that to be too thick. So I'm thinking perhaps 3/4 of an inch. Let's try that. And that will just, it's just such a small detail that you'll see in behind the photos there, and it will tuck in behind our wheat field. So let's cut that down to size. And I'll stick that into place. So I'll just make sure my little flower's okay there, which it is. And just a little bit of repositionable tape. Now I'm just going to use my, where are we? My multi-purpose tool here just to be able to lift up these layers that we have in place to tuck that in, like so. There we go. So I can stick my flower stalk in place, like so. And then my flower will just sit over the top. That's looking a little bit crooked there. Let's straighten that up. We're a little bit wonky. See, that's where the repositionable tape is handy. I can stick my flower back over the top, like so. Let's flip that. Oh, there was the arch that I was looking for. Let's flip that over and stick down into place. Now I've also got, you know how much I love this punch, the 5-leaf punch. So I'm just going to add some leaves, and even though, you know, these are probably going to be quite hidden in behind the photos, I still want to be able to see them just peeping out. So I'm only going to punch 2. And we can stick one to the top there, and we might have another one angled down opposite, like so. So I'll stick those down. Again, I'll just use my little tool there to lift that a little, like so. And again, just at the top there. And then we can come in and add our cute little photos. So we'll have our 6x4, our 4x4, and then I'm going to layer a smaller one there, like so. And then the final one. So my page is all completed. I've added some of the very cute sticker embellishments as well as some journaling to the center of my page to tell the story of the photos. It's almost time for harvest at the farm. The crops are almost as tall as Millie. And I've just typed that out in a Word document and printed onto some photo safe paper to add that to my page. But as you can see, that's sketch number 2 completed, and even though my sample page for my sketchbook was created using the National Scrapbook Day products, we were able to get creative and make our own frame just with the tools that I had on hand and with the On the Farm collection for my papers. Don't forget, if you like my video, to give me a thumbs up. It really does help my creative channel, and if you're interested in any of the products or my sketchbook, I'm going to link everything below. But for now, take care, and I will see you very soon. Bye.